Hello Nigeria and indeed the rest of the world. Welcome to the special media chat with the President and Chief Executive, the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan, GCFR. It is my privilege and honor to be here with three other journalists to address the issues that most of you will be expecting that we shall address today. These are indeed interesting times. Nigeria is just a few weeks away from elections, and there's been a lot of talk in the media, both here and abroad, about is Nigeria really ready? There are issues of security also addressing the minds of many people. At best, we can't say most people who, except of course they are flies on the wall, or they are the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or are close to him, do not know exactly what is happening. At best, people are speculating. But this evening, all that will be put to rest because the President himself is willing to answer questions from four of us. I'll start by introducing from my extreme right, Mr. Ibrahim Shame of Blueprint Media.
Good evening.
Next to him, we have Mr. Deji Badmos, who is a broadcast journalist.
Thank you.
And on my right is Mr. Ibangan Isine. Three of us shall be taking on your behalf, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan. Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here.
You are welcome.
I think it's appropriate at this time to say a few words of welcome, first of all, to us.
Thank you. First, let me welcome four of you first to State House for this brief media chat, and to use this introductory platform to appreciate Nigerians generally for supportive of government. The world is passing through a phase of history. Almost all the countries of the world have one problem or the other, and Nigeria is not out of it. And still with this kind of situation, since Nigerians are going about their businesses and economy has not collapsed, the social system is functioning. So I have to thank them, and also especially consider the fact that this period that you mentioned, I've been watching the campaigns voters card for, because before 2011 elections, Nigerians don't talk about voters cards until we made sure that the Nigerians must decide who governs them at all levels. We made sure that with our own concept of one man, one vote, one woman, one vote, one youth, one vote from 2011, and we kept fit with that. Nigerians are now interested in having the voters card, so this thrilled me. But at the same time, one thing I've noticed that a bit worrisome is that a number of politicians are doing very well, but few people are doing things that, to me, is not the best. I always say that when you are coming for election, whatever office you want to hold, whether that of the president of the country or that of the governor of a state, there must be a nation before whatever you think you want to do could be materialized. If you want to develop the people, there must be the people before you can develop the people. If you want to fight corruption, there must be people before you fight corruption, because these are key tools being used for campaigns. But whatever your mission, you must have the people, you must have a nation. So we must not destroy Nigeria because of our political interests. But thank you for this evening.
Well, we thank you most especially because, I mean, from my colleagues before we came here, we were asking, okay, do you guys have an agenda? Do you have questions for us? And the secretary said, that's not what we're calling here for. We want you to come and ask your questions. So I must tell you that we are here with questions. I personally talked to the driver that brought me from the airport today, and I asked him what his thoughts were. He said he's confused. He doesn't know what to do. Why were the elections postponed? Those were the first questions he asked. And will it still happen? So, and I think that's what's very uppermost in a lot of Nigerians' minds. So I guess my gentlemen friends have allowed me to be the first to fire the first salvo. So I would ask, what was the real reason for the change, of the dates? You would have heard, of course, reports in the media. Your position is of the opinion that shifting the elections was not in the nation's interest, and they described this as another political gimmick by you. What do you have to say with regards to this?
People are not being fair to me. And I think the issue of rescheduling elections, I wouldn't want to say change of date for elections. For the international community, I sympathize with them because in Africa there are cases, there are a number of cases. I've been a leader in Africa for quite some time now. I've been handling such cases where governments reschedule elections to extend tenure. So whenever you talk about rescheduling elections, they are a bit apprehensive that is there any attempt for the sitting president to extend his tenure? But this is not the case in Nigeria. In Nigeria, the law makes it very clear that there's a range of time elections could be conducted, not less than 30 days to the inauguration of the new government, and not more than 150 days to the inauguration of the government. Within this period, the election could be conducted so that it does not affect the inauguration of the new government. But within that period, if there are issues that will require the electoral body to adjust the dates, it's not they can always adjust. You recall that in 2011, the first election, I was already in my village in Bayelsa State. The eve of that election, I was already had traveled to my village before I was told that INEC have announced suspension of the election by 2 weeks, and I came back. So INEC did not discuss with me. I don't decide date for elections, but INEC work with security services because they must provide protection. The security services help to carry their materials, like the Air Force help to carry their materials, the Navy help to carry their materials, and of course mainly they have to protect the staff of INEC, of course ensure peace and security in the country. And I also remember that in 2011, when nobody even expected any crisis, 10 young people were just slaughtered. So there are a lot of security implications in conducting elections in Africa generally. So the security services, they did not consult me anyway. If they should tell INEC, probably for one reason or the other, they should just within this period. Ordinarily for me, it's supposed not to be an issue, but this is a period where we make everything, make it look as if it's a big thing. Because I always say election, it's like any tournament. Let us say two countries want to play a soccer match. FIFA or so say you are going to do it in March. Later they say, okay, April or May. The winning team will still win. So I don't see the big deal about it. But you see, when people decide to make white look like black and make black look like red, the society will be confused. And
what you're saying is that the real reason is the same thing that INEC has said. That's what you're saying?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So
and I was not consulted, and I don't want to be consulted. In 2011, INEC did not consult me. If they had informed me, I couldn't have wasted my time. And the government resources, for any trip I make, I know what federal government pays. For me to move to one, even if I'm going to my village, my advance team will go there, 3 days, rate team, and so on. So a lot of costs involved. So there's no way I would have gone to the village.
We are still on this issue of elections, and I think my friends, and I'll ask Ibrahim to go now.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity to ask you questions. I think the main reason why Nigerians are worried about this postponement of the election is the reason given by INEC, that the postponement was necessitated by the fact that the military are busy fighting the insurgency in the northeast. So they will not be able to handle the election that was scheduled for the next Saturday. Now, they asked for 6 weeks within which to be ready. So Nigerians are saying a war that was not won in 6 weeks, in 6 years, how could it be won within 6 weeks? So people are suspecting that there must be something hidden in the whole postponement idea. How would you clear this?
Thank you. Well, I'm not the chief of defense staff that wrote the letter, but as the chief security officer of the federation, I should have some ideas. There are two things to this, because during the Council of State meeting, we met over this. Council of State, where all former heads of states and former justices of the Federation are involved, with myself, the President, the Attorney General, and of course all the governors. They briefed us. They emphasized the issue of security, and no security operative will make everything known to everybody. There is no way they will disclose.
Not to the President. They
may disclose to me a number of things they will not tell others, which I will also not mention. But there are two things to the security. Yes, the Boko Haram aspect is there, but also the threat factor in the country. When the INEC came up with the dates for election, there was no so much threat until we started the campaigns. And they see a lot of red alert. So for any security chief, you really need to review the security architecture, otherwise the country will go into flames. So, elections, you have a lot of problems involved, and especially when the issue of PVC was also being branded as a problem. So INEC, from what Jiga mentioned, that they were a bit ready for the election.
They did?
Yeah, of course, they said they were ready. But to me, this is what they did, because after 2011, all Nigerians who were interested in voting had their PVCs. 100% of Nigerians who registered to vote had their PVCs. The day we held that meeting that led to this adjustment of dates, in Lagos, for example, only about 38% had PVCs. That means that if you conduct election in Lagos, 62% of people who want to vote will not vote. Don't you think that there are security implications in that arrangement? Some other states have 30-something%, some have just about 50%. And these percentages are not uniform distributed. There are some states where you have up to 68-70%, some states 38%. So those who monitor the intelligence service and security services know the security implications about some of these. The ordinary people may not see it that way. But in terms of the Boko Haram too, because we are very hopeful that in the next weeks, of course, monitor and see from tomorrow, the movement will be much faster. The reasons are very obvious. We find it difficult then to really contain the Boko Haram the way we ought to have done, because we did not get the required equipment we needed, platforms both for the Army and the Air Force. Luckily, we've really gotten substantial quantity of this for now. But one of the key problems is that our neighbors were not too committed. I had several meetings with the president of Chad, for example, who was also willing to send troops, but he said that before he sent troops, AU, African Union, or the United Nations must key in so that whatever he's doing is legal, there's some kind of acceptability, there should be legal backing. So we're on that. So until when the AU met, and now AU passes that resolution, so it's now become legal, and that's why Chad has moved in now. Cameroon has moved in. So you really see that there's a hiding place for the Boko Haram again. You see that a place like Adamawa, before this time, you had about 7 local governments that were taken over by the Boko Haram. As we are talking, only Madagali that is remaining. And I believe in the next few days we'll liberate Madagali local government. That means that Adamawa state will be completely removed. Even if it is issues of elections, we can conduct elections in Adamawa state. We will move all the IDPs, internally displaced persons, we'll move them back to their communities. If the communities have been burned down by Boko Haram, we'll build tents within their communities so that people will live within their communities, so that they can vote within their communities. Yobe State, 2 local governments, and in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to take over those 2 local governments. And so if there are displaced persons, we'll move them, though the area is sparsely populated for Yobe State because it's the mountainous, very difficult terrain, but there are people who live there. Borno State is where we have more, about 10 local governments, 10 to 12 local governments that are in the hands of the Boko Haram, and the next couple of weeks also, because we have started effective movement. So even in terms of the Boko Haram, what will happen in the next 4 weeks or so Nigerians will know that the security rule transaction is serious. But the issue of security is beyond the Boko Haram. Okay. Because within this campaign period, they are either from instigation, which I believe politicians instigating some young people to act in ways that they are not expected. I've campaigned across this country 2007 with late President. I campaigned across this country 2011, both north and south. Even states, governors campaign across. Even states or local governments that may not necessarily vote a governor, the people conduct themselves. But this 2014, 2015, we have seen some traces, very dangerous signals coming up. And no security chief will take it lightly.
Could it be also, sir, that because the stakes are higher? I think at this point, the stakes might be higher now than 2011 or 27, you know, but from what you've said now, you're telling us better equipment, a better force that's going to fight at least the Boko Haram issue will ensure some security. But I think that tension that you're talking about, will it be doubt? DG has a few questions then.
Yeah, Mr. President,
on security.
I just want to take you to
back.
The issue of the elections, I mean the postponement. You talked about, I want to basically talk about the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Your party has actually come out to say it has no confidence in him. I mean, it's based, at some point it actually accused INEC and the chairman specifically of taking sides with the opposition. And of course, we have people who are very close to you who have come out to say Jega should resign and be arrested. I mean, a typical example is Chief Edwin Clark. And today, there's a story all over that there's every likelihood that Jega might be removed. The question is this: do you have confidence in Professor Tahiru Jega conducting the 2015 general elections? And are you contemplating any move at all to remove him?
How I wish this is a twin interview that Professor Jega himself to be with us. I could have asked him to answer the question about whether I have confidence in Jega or not. One thing about politics, leadership generally, anywhere, is that when you're a leader, let's say maybe you're a governor of a state, been a governor before, you have a number of who support you, but you don't even know what they do or what they say. Maybe somebody has been making statements to advance your cause. The assumption is that person is close to you. Yes, that person supports you. Maybe you're a fan. And you know from your friends and your spouses, some of them may be my fans, some of them are fans of other candidates. I may not even know what they do. Somebody, a number of people used to tell me that, look, Mr. President, we've been watching their media adverts and so on, but the messaging from your camp is somehow confusing. There are too many messages that go out, and sometimes I call the people, and more than 80% of those who sponsor these messages we don't even know. That's why somebody wakes up, they say 10 reasons why President Jonathan should continue, and another person wakes up and say 1,000 reasons why. You don't even know that. So it's not what somebody says, whether that person is a fan of Jonathan or has been defending Jonathan. It's different from Jonathan.
So what does Jonathan
and if you ask Jega, Jega will tell you, I appointed members of INEC. INEC is a standing executive body defined by the Constitution. It is Mr. President that appoints every commissioner in INEC, both the national commissioners and the REC, the resident electoral commissioners, are my appointees. So if I feel that Jega is not good enough, for obvious reasons, then I can, by there are provisions in the Constitution that gives the person who appoints the power to remove. And I've not told anybody that I'm going to remove Jega. I've never said so. So is it, I think some of these things are creation by people from one interest or the other. They are just setting confusion. I've seen the whole thing about the suspension of the scheduling. I don't want to call it suspension, that's always misunderstood. The scheduling of the elections. There are a lot of people who are using that opportunity to misinform Nigerians and create this confusion. That's why the taxi cab told you that the person was confused. Well, if he maybe be listening to the radio in his car and people are talking different things, and sometimes people come on television to say certain things. Some of them are even university professors and are very senior citizens. And they make statements out of so much of ignorance. If a professor is saying something, how do Americans say, that is a professor? what the person is saying must be true. But you who knows it, you know that it's just an endless statement that is very mischievous. Let me give you an example. That's not to do with election. There was a time long ago, was it 2012 or 2011? After our budget, there were issues of amount of money for State House. And one professor from one university in the Southwest, a private university, said, oh, he came to my house and that he just had the breakfast and later they called him for lunch and that there was one full turkey that was given. And those who eat with me know that I don't eat turkey. It's not as if I forbid it, just I don't like turkey meat. So I eat chicken but not turkey. So nobody has served turkey. But the man told Nigerians that there was one full turkey. A professor. So these are the kind of garbage information. People come, I watch some of these television programs in the morning and I feel sad. The level of misinformation that goes to the public, especially for the young people, and I feel sad. That is one aspect of this politics that makes me sad. Because people are supposed to be properly enlightened, properly informed, for them to take a decision as to who governs them at all levels, starting from the state assembly, national assembly, governors or president. But what we see is junk that is pumping, and people will be confused. Just like that's why a cab driver is confused. I suppose that's why we are having this. We're hearing from the horse's mouth. I beg your pardon. Can I call you a horse for tonight? So we're hearing from the horse's mouth. So I think I can see that Manga is just waiting. Premium Times, you know, things are trending these days, and these are online papers. You understand these things? The online people are
yes, they're very active.
Among the
that's the benefit of, you know, the growth in the telecom sector, I suppose. But you know, let's restrict this to elections for now. Let's save security for later, right? Let's do the elections first. Elections.
Okay, Mr. President, not quite long ago you signed an accord, I could say a peace accord, with some political leaders in the country, or leaders of some of the political parties, major political parties, to ensure that the 2015 election will be peaceful. But barely a few days after that, you were pelted in some parts of the north. And then your brothers in the Niger Delta, the ex-generals of militants, now retaliated by threatening to declare war if you are not returned as president. And these are condemnable. But, Mr. President, are you not worried at the level this thing is going, and the hate speech, the issue of hate speech, and the way politicians, including people in your party, are going?
Well, these are the issues I was telling you that when heads of security services in a country say, look, we need to re-examine security architecture relating to this election. It's beyond just Boko Haram. You will agree with me that that aspect of attempting to even pellet the president's convoy, and if you look at the people, they are very young, ignorant people, because I saw some of them. Attempting to attack a president is treasonable. If you are killed, nothing anybody can do globally. It's treasonable offense. So they will not do, they will carry young boys. The president is protected by soldiers, not just police. Why do they use soldiers to protect the president? The president is the only office holder that is guided by soldiers. Every other person, including the vice president, is police. The idea is that attempt on the president is treasonable and he could be killed and nothing happens. So if people could even instigate some small children to do that, of course that's what I describe as the gray area of the whole political process that I have observed. But I think we'll get over it. People would probably get carried away. Even some of the statements some of us make, not even, I mean, even those of us who want to hold some of these offices, have been making some provocative statements, which I believe over the period we'll be able to get over it. I believe some people get carried away by some interest, just like I said that the stakes are higher. I don't know what makes the stakes higher, because the president of Nigeria is the president of Nigeria. Exactly. No, whether the election was in 2007 that I contested as a vice presidential candidate, or in 2011 or 2015, it's the same commander-in-chief position that you want. So the stakes are the same. It's just that the difference is that different actors are involved, and the characteristics of the actors matter so much. Even if you look at, say, take the two key parties APC and PDP. The key actors around Buhari in 2014, 2015 are different from the key actors around Buhari in 2003, 2007, and 2011. And Buhari is the same Buhari. But the key actors around are different. So some of these excesses are because of the behavior of the key actors around the principals. But if you look at me, because I'm a sitting president, that's the difference between me and another candidate. I'm a sitting president, so whatever happens in the country, it's on my head. If political parties behave poorly, the international community phone me. UN Secretary General calls me regularly. Other presidents calls me regularly. They will not call the leaders of other political parties. They feel you are the sitting president, so it is good, whether it is good or bad. It's just like INEC. INEC is an independent body. If INEC conduct this election poorly, it's on my head. If INEC conduct this election like they did in 2011, in fact, I am the one who takes the glory. Jega doesn't travel much. Wherever I go, heads of states appreciate what Nigeria did in 2011. So I smile. So my own position is different. I'm not just looking for that office, but I must also protect the state. I must protect the citizens, both the lives and properties of the people. Some other people may not care about what happens to people because it's not their responsibility. But in my own case, it's my responsibility to ensure peace in Nigeria.
Yes, I know that they're itching to cut in there. And yes, I appreciate that, but what the president is saying, I want to understand is that to diffuse tension at least for now. But maybe I'll let you go.
Yeah, just to follow up, Mr. President, that I was going to ask you. Do you feel disturbed when you hear people come out to say, for instance, like the ex-militant did, that if you were not returned as president in this year, that they would go to war with Nigeria?
Those statements come from both coming from both sides. But I've told you that these are statements that are not new. We are journalists, you know more than me. These are statements that have been going on over the period. It's not the first time you saw statements. But we'll make sure that things are done in a way that nobody goes to war. Nobody will go to war. Nigeria will remain Nigeria. And you, the journalists, must encourage that. You have a role to play, especially my good friend, the online people. We have a country. We must protect this country. We can't destroy this country, and we cannot encourage anybody who wants to destroy the country. So sometimes there is so much pressure on you to report one negative thing or one positive thing or so on. But my play is that, look, without Nigeria, there will be no president. Without Nigeria, Jonathan, I'm not going to be the president of another country. Even if I'm relevant at the ECOWAS level, I'm relevant at AU level, I'm relevant at the global level. First and foremost is because I'm the president of Nigeria. The day I choose to be the president of Nigeria, I'm just an ordinary person. So we must protect this country. Whoever wants to be the president today cannot destroy the country. And the supporters, those who are supporting us also, must not destroy the country.
Well, I suppose what that means is that your personal opinion is that we need to diffuse tension. The journalists are responsible, and also
the journalists are responsible. Okay, yes, you help us. Yes.
And when I said earlier about the stakes,
you have a key role to play.
Absolutely. It wasn't that stakes were higher for you, for Nigerians as a whole. For the first time, all Nigerians are engaged because they have a telephone in their hands and they can go online and check out things, and information can be going. But however, people must have the correct information.
That is my problem.
Something that has been going on in recent times. We've been seeing you in the newspapers going to one pastor or one church for prayers. And we wonder, when are you going to go to the mosque?
I like that. You see, as a politician, people invite you for all programs. And of course, I'm a Christian. So I receive invitation almost on a daily basis. I may not be, in pure Islamic ceremonies, they don't invite me that much, just like the Christians hardly invite the vice president now. And that is why maybe in Nigeria the arrangement is that one person has to be a Christian, one person has to be a Muslim. And but I attend Muslim programs, if like youth programs, but not the one that involve going directly into the mosque. Those are purely religious issues.
Okay, so The Muslims are praying for you. Ibrahim, go.
Ibrahim prays for me.
So we take one question around the issue of elections before we go revisit.
I still want to ask a question about the postponement as it relates to fighting the insurgency. Now, the time frame is 6 weeks. So what happens if the insurgents are still there? That means if the war is not won, do we expect, should we expect another postponement?
In other words, is May really sacrosanct?
No, I don't want to cut you off.
Yes.
2011, when elections were conducted, we had Boko Haram, don't we? Boko Haram started before 2007. They became a problem when their leader was killed in 2009, Yusuf. When, as at that time, they were still operating in Borno, they didn't spread that much. But from 2009, when Yusuf was killed in one way or the other, they become cancerous. So even when we conducted elections in 2011, we had Boko Haram issues, you know. Nobody is saying that they must wipe out Boko Haram completely before we conduct election in this country. But they say that security-wise, there are certain things they need to do so that they will be able to get enough manpower and recalibrate or reconfigure the security architecture to make sure that we conduct elections. They cannot say until, but definitely in the next 6 weeks or so, serious advances will be made. But I'm not saying we'll wipe out Boko Haram, because you see, Boko Haram are not regular forces. At best, we can take over all the territories. But taking over the territories does not mean that you are wiped off Boko Haram. When they first started, they had no territories they were holding. But they were just going to markets and using suicide bombers to kill people. So they did not tell you that, oh, we must wipe out Boko Haram before. No. But they said, look, give us some time.
So what Mr. President is saying is
let us configure the security architecture vis-a-vis Boko Haram, etc., etc. So the elections will be done. They've given dates, and I don't see why we continue to doubt that the election will not hold. The elections will hold. And the inauguration of the next president will take place 29th of May this year.
It could be you. It will be you.
It will be me, of course.
What else would you say? But I think Ibangai wants to ask a particular question in that area, because I wonder what Mr. President is saying, that May 29th is sacrosanct.
Of course. I think that is the case.
Okay, Mr. President, when you launched your campaign in 2011, Nigerians across religious, ethnic divides were totally, with a lot of them mass were on your side. But today, a lot of those who were with you, I can count the names: Rotimi Amechi of Rivers State, Kwakwanso of Kano State, and so many more are on the other side. Mr. President, what happened? How do you intend to win some of these people back and even get a new support base, in the country, across the country?
Just believing you need a new support base.
Yes. First and foremost, as a journalist, as good as politicians, because they report about us. In politics, they say there is no permanent interest, there is no permanent, there is no permanent friend or permanent enemy. Yeah. Well, there are permanent interests. So at any particular time, a politician's interest may change. And if he sees that if I go to the left, it is easier for me to realize my interest. There's the tendency for the politician to move to the right. If I go to the left, it will. So if you look at even the carpet crossing, that so much abused in the country because the courts are yet to take a position on the matter. You see people cross into PDP, from PDP they cross to other political parties. Yes, you see some governors moved away from PDP to other parties. Also, at least a clear case of one governor in those states moving into PDP. For the parliament, in and out, it's not too good for me as the leader of this country, not just as a presidential candidate of PDP, but as the president of Nigeria. What is happening in a political environment is not good. Other countries, I know one or two presidents that asking, why is this happening in Nigeria? In our country, if a politician who is holding an office, elected office, move from his party to another party. These are the consequences. But it's like in Nigeria, today you be in party A, and another day you contrast primaries. If you fail in party A, you go to B. So if you fail there, you go to C. I think because the courts have not taken a decision. Finally, Supreme Court will take a decision, and this will stop. But for now, because Supreme Court has not taken a decision, the movement is so...
Ibarra is saying, how do you get them? I think the question...
No, but you see, that's what I'm saying.
Winning them is not the issue.
The politicians moving or support-based moving is a normal process.
No plans to try and win anybody back?
No, the politics is about talking to people. It's like a religion. You talk to people. Some people come on board. I'm telling you that some people have come on board. Some people have left. So it's natural.
Did you?
But you can't... You say yes, and normally in most cases, a sitting president, most presidents will tell you that it's more difficult, the second election, than the first one, all over the world. So it's not only Nigeria, because of one reason or the other.
You can go.
I think at this point, maybe I should just go into security, since we've talked so much about... we could come back to the election issues. Mr. President, just one question I want to ask. The Chibok girls, what exactly is the state of things? How far?
The case of the Chibok girls, I believe now that we are working with Chad, working with Cameroon, I believe in the next few weeks the story of the Chibok girls will begin to get better. The issues of at least rescuing some of them and so on. I believe that I cannot say, I cannot say the president said so. I don't want to be quoted and say, maybe if I give you presidency in 2 weeks' time or in 4 weeks' time, we are going to... I cannot say that because the disappearance of these girls are taking quite some time. But we have mapped out a configuration now. We're working with our neighbors and we'll comb the whole of that area. So I believe, just give us some time.
But the one issue though that bothers me as a mother and as a woman, of course, was one of the issues that those campaigning for the girls to be found is the fact that how could the president have gone partying when it was first announced that they had been kidnapped? So like I always say, nobody knows what's in your heart. Maybe this is the opportunity to tell us how you actually felt.
I did not go partying. I think some people try to misinform the world. People try to play politics with the case of Chibok girls, which is very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. And that is the difference between the security challenges we face, the terror challenges in Nigeria and other countries. Most other countries, when you have this issue of terror, Kenya is just started experiencing it. Uganda, they've experienced terror. Ethiopia, they've experienced a terror attack. Of course, the U.S. experienced terror. We are talking about France experienced terror not long ago. We talk about ISIS and so on. Other countries, when they have this issue of terror, the political boundaries collapse and people work together. The interest of the country becomes paramount. But in this case, we have terror situation. Then Nigerians will feel it's better to go to the US, or go to UK, go to France, or appear on televisions and celebrate themselves. Is that the way we'll bring back these girls?
What do you
so, you see, I think we are not, let us face facts. We imitate, Nigerians imitate America a lot. When there was 9/11 in America, how many Americans moved about the whole world attacking the government? It was a collective responsibility. Defend America. You must be patriotic to your country. Is it by going to carry flags and singing around the world that will bring these girls? We'll expect that those who have international connections will use that to help the country, not the other way around. But rather, you see that those people, some have some links outside, but I use those links negatively instead of using them positively for political reasons. So you see, just give us some time, because the position we are in now, I believe, the story will be better in the few weeks to come.
On these Chibok girls, is there really a definite plan to recover them alive as the military are moving in now?
Alive, but you know.
Of course, we will recover them alive. There's no plan to kill them. How can you ask that question, my brother? These girls have been in the hands of criminals for a very long time. Some even on their own will be sick. They could suffer from snake bites because they've been moving them across the jungle. Even those who kidnap people, a number of them die in the process. Not because they wanted to kill the people. Those who kidnap for purpose of making money for ransom, but some of them die in their hands. That's been happening. So about 200 girls were kidnapped over a long period. You want the president to say, I'm going to get 200 girls alive and give the period. What I'm telling you is that watch for because of the position now, and I'm quite hopeful. Not God, but as the president now, I'm more hopeful now than before. In terms of combing up the whole area. Because of what we have now and the maximum cooperation we are getting from the neighboring countries, which was never there before.
You haven't told me how you feel about it.
I believe you didn't. If you have watched me, you would have noticed. There's no human being. And I used to tell people that the number of calls that I receive about this, you need to even appreciate that when I see people, I still have to relate with people. As the president, the country cannot collapse. Myself and every other person around me should touch up. And because you don't know the problem of terror on the head of the president of a country. That's why I know, like when some people say that, oh, in some parts of some of the states, they are even insinuating that the president brought Boko Haram for political gains. And I just can't even imagine somebody insinuating that way. So that if the person knows 1/4 of the problems I carry because of this Boko Haram, he will not even
feel sorry for you.
Make that kind of a statement. But these are painful things. These are painful things that we have to pass through.
There's one particular painful thing that Ibahate must address with you.
Yes.
And we all agree that he should be the one that will ask that question.
Mr. President, in a similar event like this in the past, you remarked that stealing is not corruption. And this issue has generated a lot of controversy. Nigerians are worried. The social media, it becomes something that people talk about and they insult you about. Now, Mr. President, please, can you tell us, clarify what you meant by those statements?
My brother, thank you for asking. I think I had one or two persons, very senior persons, politicians, who made that allegation. The president that says stealing is not corruption. But the good thing is that those who are making that statement, they have not told you that the president says stealing is good. How are we to tell Nigerians that I said stealing is good? But this is the president says stealing is not corruption. Luckily, they did not say the president said stealing is good. And you see, that is why the philosophers said that people disagree, because the primary reason for disagreement is that people use the same word to explain two different things, or use two different words to explain the same thing, so you get a communication gap. I made that statement because I quoted the former CGN Mustafa. Because of these issues of corruption, I called a meeting. It's a creation of me, the executive, myself, the vice president, and the anti-graft agencies, ICPC, FCC, and the police. Then I asked the Senate President and the Deputy, the Speaker and the Deputy, then the Chief Justice of the Federation, the President of the Appeal Court, the Chief Justice of the Federal High Court, and for the state courts, we take one Chief Judge per zone, 6 of them. Say, look, both, though there is in the Constitution, there is no provision for the 3 arms of government to come together because of this separation of powers. But I say, look, the issue of corruption, if the 3 arms of government don't come together to tackle this corruption, the whole country is being humiliated. Everywhere you go, corruption, corruption, corruption. When the Chief Judge turned to speak, that was Justice Mustafa, he said that because of this corruption, he took most of the files that talked about corruption. And when you look through the files, more than 80% of them are just stealing. They're cases of theft. But people use corruption to cover. What I'm saying is that if, for example, let's go to the Southwest and go to a typical community in the Southwest, and I look at you and say, this young man is corrupt. They will be looking at the young man. Say he's corrupt. They will look at him. But call that young man Ole and see what will happen to that young man. Call him Ole, that's thief. They will stone him to death. Our people hate thieves more than they hate corrupt. Now I've been saying that sometimes we use corruption to cover lapses of government functionaries. Somebody who cannot do his work well, they say it's because of corruption. A thief should be called a thief. Ole should be called Ole and be treated as a thief. In the villages in those days when we are there, even if you're an adult and you steal goat or you steal a bunch of plantain or something, they naked you, they tie snail shells around your waist and flog you across the village, humiliate you and your family. If you say this man is corrupt, some people don't even know what you're talking about. Apart from well-developed languages like the Hausa language, the Yoruba language, and the Igbo language, some of the smaller languages we speak don't even have the equivalent word for corruption. Ask people.
Semantics then.
Yes, if you ask some of the smaller languages, what is the equivalent of corruption, they will be giving you some descriptive statements. Because people don't even know this corruption. I said that you are even using the corruption to cover thieves. A thief should be called a thief. Ole should be called Ole and be given that Ole treatment. But I don't know what happened. People turn it upside down. Luckily, they have not told Nigerians that the president says it's good to steal. I've not said so. But we are saying that if somebody is a thief, it should be a thief. Don't use the word corruption to cover everything. Somebody who is incompetent, they say corruption. Somebody, if you thief, Ole is Ole and should be treated as Ole. I'm not saying people should want. Yes, I'm not saying people should be treated like it's done in the village. No, I'm not saying so. But the punishment for that, we should deal with that matter that way. But well, maybe in the West, they use the word corruption to cover so many things, and sometimes corruption. I'm telling you, just for example, two people should come, go to a typical Southwest, even in Lagos. One young man or young lady should come and say this person is corrupt. The people will look at the person will walk away. But the day you say that this person is holy, or it will start studying that person. So people feel more offended when they say you are a thief.
So let's use words that communicate the message.
Yes, so let us communicate properly. Let people know. That is, I quoted him. It's not me. It's not as if I said it. No, I quoted Mustafa. He's still alive. He's the one who said he examined all these corruption cases, and he said that almost 80% of them are cases of just stealing and should be treated as yes.
Okay, it's not as stealing,
so
it's corruption.
Yes.
Stealing
is bad. It's let me say corruption, for example, in a society based on our own values. Two unmarried men sleeping is corruption. But is that? Can you compare that to stealing? So the word corruption, we have abused it, and it's no longer making so much sense. Except maybe to talk about the country's corruption. But I think we must. I think quoting Mustafa, I'm not the one. And even that day when I made that statement, I quoted Mustafa. I did not say stealing is not corruption. I said, but Mustafa, as a lawyer, I was the Chief Justice of the country. He said he studied, it took time because of this corruption. Because I invited all of them for that meeting. So he decided to withdraw most of these cases about corruption, and he studied the cases, and he said that more than 70%, either they use the word 80 or 70, but I believe more, I said maybe more than 70 or more than 80% are clear cases of stealing, and so they should be treated that way, not to be covered up under corruption. Even if you look at the two agencies we have the ICPC. ICPC is actually the only agency that is set to deal with corruption. Independent Corrupt Practices Commission. ICPC is the only agency that is set out to deal with pure corrupt practices. It's not even EFCC. EFCC is criminal cases burdened on economic issues, and the police will handle cases of stealing. This is so when you try to cover everything, that means that ICPC is supposed to handle all these files, because that is the only agency set up by government that's supposed to deal with pure corruption issues. So I think people are confused. It's not actually my quotation. It's not actually my quotation. I quoted the Chief Justice of the federation that time. But it's being used wrongly. But luckily nobody has said, oh, the president said that stealing is good. There's no human being that will say stealing is good. Because our people know a thief is somebody you don't want to come near you.
So are we identifying thieves in our society now? Of
course, yeah. Even if you talk about what the agencies are doing, within this period, I say so. And I said that it's better the chairman of EFCC himself should address the media. In terms of prosecuting people and convicting people, we have done more conviction within this period than before. But I always say that even if you convict 1 million people, it does not stop this stealing crop practices.
What do you think will stop?
You must make sure that people don't steal. Don't put the money where people steal, like we've done in the fertilizer procurement. If you leave a goat and a yam or a plantain together, the goat will eat. What you have to do, if you want to make sure that the goat does not eat the yam, you must separate it. So that's what we are doing. That we must make sure that. Luckily, we have IT. You you are all digital people. With IT, you can do a number of things. That's why we removed the stealing that was taking place in the. I don't even want to say corruption. The stealing that was taking place in the fertilizer sector. Every year, the states and the federal government spend a lot of money, and this people just
doesn't get to where it
should. Yes, they stole the money. Thieves should be called thieves. My brother.
So
thieves should be called thieves. And if you go to my village and talk about thieves, everybody, even the 90%, know who is a thief. Right? It's a corruption. The man will look at you, does not know what you're talking about.
Anyway, Deji, you want to
yeah, for me, I would want to go back to the issue of security, if you wouldn't mind. I mean, Mr. President, just the $1 billion loan you actually asked the National Assembly to approve to purchase equipment. What exactly is the state of that? And sorry, it's a double-barrel question. The second would be, what exactly is the state of things with the problem we had with South Africa over the $9.3 million issue?
The $1 billion loan, because it's a loan, had to go to the National Assembly. I think the House of Reps gave the approval quite late. But we have not even, because it's a loan, so we have to draw. We have not even started drawing from that money. But the National Assembly have approved the $1 billion loan. But we started drawing. We'll be managing, and we also want to pay directly to countries. We don't want, because of this stealing of money, you call corruption or stealing. Well, thief is a thief. You just use the word corruption to paint things that are black and look like not too black. What we are doing now this time is for military procurement. We do what we call government to government. Most the companies that produce weapons have links with their state government, the countries, because you cannot be allowed to produce. They are not granite. So we are now arranging through the countries, and that money nobody will see. Everything will be from central bank straight to those countries. We've not started disbursing it. The issue of the $9.3 million or so, actually that money is technically, yes, the money came from us, but technically it's not our money. It was paid to a company. But the only thing is that because of the circumstances of the transaction and the way the company ferried the money across to South Africa, it became an issue. And of course the matter is in court. I believe they will get the money back, but the matter is in court.
South Africa has not returned the money.
No, the matter is in court, so until the court processes concluded. It's not as if the government is no longer directly in the
because government paid this company.
Yes, it pays the company that carried the money to South Africa.
But the company has not delivered the weapons anyway. So
I know they have. Yeah, it's a contract, so it is not our fault. But it's just, of course, we suffer some kind of bad image when $9.something million and the media, because especially in the political period where people paint all kinds of colors, but technically it's not our money, and because the matter is in court, so the money is there. So the company, because it's obligation, so they have to do their best to give us what we want.
Ibrahim has been eating this.
Yes, I want to ask a question related to this one.
Which one? 9.3?
Yeah. If we remember, one of the reasons why the transaction had to go like that was that the American government was not willing to cooperate with Nigeria on the issue of purchase of arms from American companies, either in America or in Europe. Now, Mr. President, you have mentioned earlier on this night that Nigeria has procured the right arms to fight this insurgency. So I wonder if you have mended fences with the U.S. government and you were able to purchase arms from American companies.
In terms of weapons, in a nation like Nigeria, you can never get enough. I say we have gotten reasonable that can enable us to combat them. I'm not saying we've gotten all what we would have loved to get. You just asked me about the 1 billion. As I say, yes, the National Assembly have approved, we have not drawn. But in terms of, the issues of the American companies is they felt that there are elements of human rights abuse in Nigeria by our soldiers. That is the insinuation that has been there. And that if they sell the weapons, it could be used. And because of that, they are restraining. But we are getting different companies, different countries that also produce some different calibers of weapons. Maybe if you want to buy this glass from the America and you cannot get exactly this glass, you may get a similar one. May not be as good as this, but it will help you do your work. But I don't need to come and enumerate the countries that are helping us. So, but we have gotten some equipment from other sources that, at least for now, we can move faster than we've been moving. And watch out for the next 3 weeks.
Ibanga?
All right, Mr. President, there are insinuations outside there, and so right. And some people said that your supporters, very big ones at that, have said if you lose the election or the other party wins, you will not hand over. And especially at the social media level, and they expressed so much concern that you don't want to relinquish power. You will not if the election does not come your way. Can you explain this?
If in 2011 I said that I will conduct free and fair elections, and if I lose, I'll happily go home, and it should be recorded as at that time no African sitting president had lost the election. But within this period, the number of African sitting presidents have been lost election. But I said I wanted to create the history to be the first African president that will lose the election. But let the world know that the elections are free and fair. Then I just concluded the late president's tenure. I was just the president for about a year, acting for some months then. But I said that I would be happy to go home. That this nation is more important than any human being, and I'm still maintaining. Anybody who wants to hold this office of a president or any office at all and feel that he is more important than the nation, then that is not quite right. So if as at that time I said that I was ready to conduct free and fair election, and if I lose, I'll go. Then not to talk about now that at least Nigerians gave me the opportunity to be here for 4 full years. So if the elections are conducted and I lose, of course, they will inaugurate a new government. There's no way you say, okay, if I lose, I will not hand over to. No. I think unnecessary insinuation. Those are the things that make you a cab driver to be a bit.
My cab driver, my staff, and I ask all kinds of people to ask questions. Anything you want to find out from Mr. President.
Those are insinuations that it's quite unfortunate. There's a lot of wrong information that is floating in the system, especially in the social media, even in the normal media, as both television, radio, and even the print media. What you read in the papers, sometimes you feel sad.
Well, you are with us now, so we can clear a lot of things. So it's an opportunity to do that. So we're glad the Nigerians are hearing from your mouth, a thief is a thief.
Yeah,
you are not
don't paint it with corruption. If you go to my village and say this person is corrupt, they will just be looking at you. They don't know. They will not know what you're talking about.
And we're going to face.
So, but if you say this person is a thief, everybody, the smallest child, the oldest person, will know what you're talking about. And so let's call thieves thieves.
May 29 is sacrosanct.
Of course.
But I wonder, the elections, the rallies you just conducted, you just rounded up your rallies. So what are you going to be doing from now till?
Not quite. No, we are yet to go to Yobe, and we are yet to do the Abuja rally.
Only two.
Because yes, in fact, somehow The key political parties, I think APC too, because the last day I had a conversation with General Buhari, the day we had the Council of State meeting. He said that they are also yet to do UB Bruno. And of course, all of us...
For obvious reasons?
Not obvious reason. We were to go to UB on Saturday, but then we had to do the Council of State meeting and these issues had to come up. So we felt, oh, let us hold on, because depending on the security issues, if elections are adjusted, then of course it's better to do the remaining one, maybe closer to the election. But elections are not all about open rallies. Open rallies are more like ceremonies, but a number of other actors, all the political key actors are going around, go to different programs, meet some individuals, and so on. So those conversations are going on. You don't necessarily need to do open rallies, but you must be reaching out to people. All politicians do that. So that's what we'll be doing. So I believe close to the elections, you see that people may do some few rallies.
Who are you reaching out to the most?
People like you.
Women? Or?
Women and youths. Because you control more than 80% of the voting population, the young people and the women.
So, well, it would appear I lost security, and I'm going back. I'm going back to security.
Yeah, security is key, because without security, I'm happy you love security.
No, I think
without security, you can't do election.
No.
Let's talk about the Boko Haram, the ceasefire that did not actually happen, that we had some time ago. What exactly happened? Were we swindled? Was the government swindled?
No, the government was not swindled in any way. When you talk about swindling, it's like you give money to people and they disappear. No, there was nothing like swindling. I know from the beginning of the Boko Haram, in my interviews, people say, oh, engage the Boko Haram. I say, yes, we are ready to engage people, but they are faceless. During the Niger Delta crisis, some of these Niger Delta key leaders, I met them in State here when Obasanjo was the president. Then I was the deputy governor, later became a governor. A number of them, it was in Abuja, in the State House, I met them. The first day when I called the meeting, and some of them, when they introduced themselves, I was just looking at them. I was deputy governor in Niger Delta, I didn't know them. What I'm saying is that when the president then invited them, they come, because they are known characters. They have a reason to do whatever, whether rightly or wrongly, they had a reason. And when they invite them, they appear. For the Boko Haram, no, they will not appear. I visited, as a vice president, I visited one of the strongest militant camps in Delta. When I arrived Warri, of course, as a vice president, I moved with security. They send words across to me that I should not come to their camp with weapons or with security. The security people say I should go back, I should not go. I say I will go. The people who follow me, none of them carry even a revolver. When we go to the camp, there are all kinds of weapons. They were carrying assault rifles and all kinds of things. We had a discussion, but you can't do that for Boko Haram, because they are faithless and their approach is different.
They are still faceless till today?
So even that time, I set up a committee headed by the current Minister of Special Duties. And so that, yes, if we have any window for discussion, let's discuss. Because the interest of the country is paramount. Sometimes the West will say, no, people should not negotiate with terrorists. Yes, we don't have to negotiate with terrorists. But then, if there is any way we can solve this problem, it's better, because whoever dies, whether it's a Boko Haram person that dies or a civilian or a security personnel, it's a Nigerian, and I feel the pain. I get security information on an hourly basis. So anything that will end this is something that I'm interested in. So what happened then was that we had a window through the Chadian system. It's not as if we just woke up to discuss with Boko Haram. And actually some people came for those conversations with my people. But it's like the Boko Haram, they are factionalized in a way, just like when you talk about the Niger Delta militants. Now there's no one umbrella body. Luckily you call them general. Every general has his own army. So Boko Haram have similar operations. So at a time, it did not get the blessing of all of them. So of course they said that it failed. But it's not as if anybody was swindled. No, federal government was not swindled. Well, they didn't give money to anybody.
I don't think it would be nice for us to come here with you and not ask you what's the one thing you've learned in this first term? Because this is your first term.
Yeah.
If indeed, let's play the devil's advocate, you win and you become the next president as sworn in May 29th, what would you do differently?
If you talk about differently, yes, of course. If you stay somewhere, you may begin to adjust the way you do certain things, because I've realized that in society, what people assess you more is not the real things you do, but how you get those things done. Probably because the common story people say is that, oh, the president meant well for this country. Yes, I meant well for this country. Anybody who is close to me, and I'm passionate about Nigeria. But they say, oh, people around the president do, people around the president do. Of course, then, of course, you must be very watchful about the actions and inactions of people around you, so that you don't continue to drag the reputation of the government into jeopardy, wrongly or rightly. It's not as if some of them have done anything wrong, but the perception is worse than real. Sometimes you who is sitting there know the exact thing, but if the perception is different, you have issues. I'm just telling you about a university professor who said he came to my house. That man has never visited State House. Even if he has come here for a general program in banquet hall, I may not know. But coming to my residence, I'm not sure he has even visited my residence. Who told Nigerians that they gave him one full turkey in a house that they don't even serve turkey? So and if he pushes that story, yes, of course, we'll manage the perception better. And if you strengthen that sector, the image of government will improve. Because most of the problems we're having is the perception, not real. Because if you talk about concrete things that this government have done, we can challenge any group within these 4, or even if you put 5 years, and let's even add the 1 year using completing it about 10 or 5 years. If you take, let me go to I'm not even things that are not too tangible. If you look at a body called the PTDF, Petroleum Technology Development Fund, it's used for technical training. From the one monies have been given to that institution, the number of youths we have trained within these 5 years for technical training at sub-graduate level, at the graduate level, masters and PhD, including pilots and so on. The number of people we have trained from that institution within these 5 years is more than the number of youths we have trained from inception of that institution. What were they doing with the money?
You do it differently. Maybe I let my colleagues ask one question each. Because I mean, I come from a home where my husband shares the same views. If only people knew how fantastic doing that is. I don't know. But what about you?
Okay, Mr. President, you mentioned that you had a chat with your main challenger, that's General Buhari, during the last Council of State meeting. There has been a lot of mudslinging in this campaign. A lot of things have been pushed out, especially about him. Can you tell us your own personal assessment of that man? What do you think about Buhari?
No. If I should assess Buhari under the condition where 2 of us are contesting for one position, I don't think I will be fair to Nigerians, and I'll be fair to myself. It's not proper. You are not being fair to me to ask me that question. If you talk about mudslinging, I think it's worse. I think the garbage that is poured on me is much more than the ones. That's not what I'm talking about. Because people come to me and say, President, in the social media, they've done this, they have done that, they have done that. I say, well, that is the cross we have to carry. Because I said that's the cross a leader will carry. I know certain things that happen, and the kind of effect on me, a number of people don't know, but I have to carry it wrongly or rightly. So, but if you talk about Buhari, I don't, social media, I don't, in fact, I don't even have the time no, definitely you are sitting where I'm sitting. You don't really have the time. So I may not know much about what is happening. But I have, in my opening statement, I told you that some of the things I observe, I feel sad. I feel sad.
Personally.
And I say yes, and I say that it is not the way to go. And I said that, look, Buhari contested 2003 against Obasanjo. contested 2007 against late Yaradua, which I ran as his running mate. Contested against me 2011, but even 2011 was his closest. The environment was different. These issues we are describing as the mudslinging statements that we're supposed to make were not there. But so I said that the characters around us
have changed.
And that is changing the principles. And I remember when, of course, APC started their campaign before me. I think they visited almost 4 states before PDP started. And I watched some of the rallies. And if you listen to me the way I spoke in Lagos, I was a bit aggressive. Yeah, because the kind of statements that people made, it was not proper.
Can we just summarize that as sign of the times? You know, tension is high and more thinking is going on, but it doesn't change the fact that we have the opportunity to clear some of these issues. So, Mr. President, you forgive us for asking such questions, but we have to ask them. They are hard. Yeah, we must ask them. We just have 1 minute each on both sides, so Mr. President can round up, so we can.
Final question then will be.
Final question.
I want you to respond to the issue of campaign financing. I mean, we've seen a lot of money spent on the campaign trail. I mean, from what we have seen, it's not as if, and because political parties do not disclose how much they spend. Your party, for instance, raised 21 billion naira. Are you bothered at the amount of money that we spend in our campaigns, and would you want to do something to correct that situation?
In terms of amount of money being spent, it's been regulated by INEC laws, but the pressure on anybody contesting election, either a councillor at the local government level or a chairman of a council, state assembly, up to the president, the pressure is quite high.
Pressure from where, sir?
You know, the pressure from the people, because I've been in politics from 1998-99, and I ran as a deputy governor today. So there's always so much pressure on people who want to. These are the things that worry us. That if there will be less pressure, most of this has nothing to do with even the formal elections. But if you talk about my party raising money, the PDP has been raising money. That money that PDP launched was merely to build their secretariat. That, you know, we have a secretariat we've been building. It has been hanging. So it was not money for election. No, it was not for election. And what you mentioned as 21 billion, these are pledges. Did you see the cash?
Okay. So, Ibana?
Yes, my final question, Mr. President. Do you have confidence that INEC, as presently constituted, will conduct free, fair and credible elections for this country?
I told you that I appointed everybody in INEC, the chairman of INEC, I appointed him, the national commissioners and the resident electoral commissioners. I appointed them and they will do the work.
Sir, I would like to round up this now, sincerely. I would have liked to spend 3 hours with you, but you've communicated quite clearly to us that the nation is more important than even the current sitting president.
Yes, of course.
Very particular about what, and it's appealing to everybody on what side. Although I wonder about the fact that there's only 2 parties we hear. There are many other parties. Abi? So, but I would like you to give us closing statements. You know, let Nigerians hear from you what your closing thoughts are.
Let me reassure Nigerians that elections will be conducted in this country and the government will be inaugurated on the 29th of May this year. And let them not be perturbed by stories that are not real. Oh, Mr. President want to send the INEC chairman on 3 months terminal leave and bring somebody that will manipulate elections for him. Okay, so these are stupid things that people insinuate. Those stories, it belongs to the garbage world. I think those of you who use computers, this language are garbage in, garbage out. If you put rubbish into the computer, it will send rubbish to people. And the stories people read, get less than 20% of it, especially in the social media, less than 20% of it that you can really see that this is a credible story. Even if there is some credibility, it's overpainted. The colors they give distort the whole story. And when a story is distorted, the information that that story communicates is always wrong. But let me reassure Nigerians that will conduct elections. It's better for INEC to conduct elections that we all believe that is free and fair. It's quite regrettable that they have to reschedule elections. For us who are politicians, it's more painful because that means more tension, more this, more that, more sleepless nights and meetings, endless meetings. But even with that, it's better that elections are done in a way that Nigerians will at least believe that the elections are credible. If you, for example, I mentioned that in some states, Lagos State, Ogun State, as at that time, have less than 40% PVCs that were distributed. Less than 40%, both Lagos and Ogun State. Some states about 50. The tallies I'm hearing now have improved. So it's only proper that Nigerians be given the opportunity to vote. And especially we are coming from a culture where people don't used to care about how people get into offices, where people manipulate electoral processes. I can ask, if I ask any of you whether you voted 2007 and 2003, I'm not sure any of you even voted.
Are you sure we vote now?
But you voted 2011. And so let's suppose if we are coming from a culture where people don't even vote and all kinds of things happen, to a culture where we want every Nigerian, I want a situation where every Nigerian must vote. That is my commitment. But it may be difficult. INEC may have some logistic challenges. But at least, even if they cannot distribute the PVCs 100%, the percentage should be fairly high so that Nigerians will believe in the process.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you for watching. I think we can quote you on this, that Nigeria, there will be sworn in as, somebody will be sworn as president on May 29, 2014. A president, government. May 29, 2015. And this nation is more important than anybody else, Mr. President has told us today. So I suppose the least Nigerians can do is to at least go out there and pick up their PVCs. And on this note, I must thank my colleague Ibrahim, Deji, Ibanga, for joining me in talking with Mr. President today. And Your Excellency, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.